of all, I hope you enjoyed the insights from our Miami-ALC study. Thank you very much to Ignacio for this work. I think it's really good to be analytical and base our decisions on data. And sometimes a lot of people talk about the hype of Miami or the hype of what's happening in the tech industry. We want to back it up with data and understand really what's going on and what's the real potential. So that's why we did this study. It's not an academic study. It's really to help us make better decisions and to really prove what the potential opportunity is. So with that in mind, I'm going to start right away with you, Francisco, who represent a lot of the great things that Colombia is doing to support innovation and startups. Francisco, as Christian mentioned, is the president and CEO of Impulsa. And what I want to understand from you is, what do you find interesting or the potential in terms of this connection between Colombia and Miami and this bridge between these two ecosystems?
Wonderful. Thank you, Irene, for this great opportunity, and thank you for hosting us and for encouraging this dialogue about this connection, and thank you for allowing me to share this great panel. Let me put this answer in context a little bit and tell you what we're seeing in the Colombian ecosystem. I think it's similar to what we're seeing in other regional ecosystems and how that ties to the trends that we just saw in the study from Ignacio. We're seeing three main trends that I think are relevant to this conversation. One is that our ecosystems are growing in specialization. We are becoming more specialized in some verticals. For example, fintech. Our fintech ecosystem is the third in the region. We're making a great effort to specialize our GovTech ecosystem, our health tech ecosystem, our EdTech ecosystem. So specialization is a first key trend. A second one has to do with the building of a regional network of ecosystems. We're not only talking about Bogota or Medellin, but a regional network. We're seeing startups come up in various mid-sized cities of Colombia. And the third key trend that we see is an opportunity for global connection, and that global connection as a means to accelerate the growth of these sectoral and regional ecosystems in countries like Colombia and in the region. And in this global connection context, there are two main things or main examples that I would mention. Next week, for instance, Irene will be opening an office in Israel, the first office of Impulsa outside of Colombia, and the first deliberate connection with a leading ecosystem. We were in South Korea a couple months ago, and with the work that you've been leading, we're connecting tech startups with the Korean ecosystem. But now closer to home, we have been really curious about the growth of Miami and what that may mean for our regional ecosystem. 3 months ago, we brought a first group of startups to do a roadshow with accelerators and funds here in Miami. The results were tremendous in terms of the pace at which they continued to raise capital, to expand their business models. And we have been gaining a lot of expressions of interest from our allies in terms of potentially establishing a program that allows us to connect Colombian startups to what's going on here in Miami. So this is a very timely conversation, a very timely study to allow us to think about that opportunity based on data, like you were saying. And that's why we were interested in participating in this conversation, just to share why we think that global connection is a key priority for Latin America at this point, and why Miami is showing signs that there are many growing opportunities for our startups. Maybe later on I'll comment on a couple more aspects that we think Miami is interesting, not only financial capital, but also relational capital and the diaspora, and how that ties into the connections and the opportunities that Latin American startups can tap into in this region of the US.
Great. No, thank you, Francisco. And I'm smiling because I have been able to speak to some of the entrepreneurs, some of whom came all the way here to Miami. And last night I was speaking to the founder of Maestrik, that's an edtech company from Colombia that indeed benefited already from this exchange in deep tech, tapping into the talent on AI models from another company in Korea. And so things are happening, and we're seeing how that then has an impact all the way back in our region, and in particular for those who normally would not have had access, for example, in this case, to this type of new model of English education, which is what Maestrik does. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. And as I mentioned, we want to make sure that we don't work in silos, and we want to make sure that this venture capital community and us at IDB Lab, as the venture arm, connect with all the spectrum, and we, within the IDB group itself, work in a continuum with IDB Invest. The same way, I think we want to bring together partners that are seeing things already from a growth stage. So I'm going to go to you, Federico, first, because you represent this complementing piece and are seeing what are some of the successes that we're starting to see emerge. So maybe a little bit on your perspective from the private equity side and what you see as some of the success factors.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. So let me maybe recap of what we do, just as a framework and background for my answer. Basically, our firm was founded more than 10 years ago with the view of helping founders that are kind of coming out of the venture phase, and in the sense that they have a proven business model, positive unit economics, traction, a team, product market fit, etc. And with the view of helping them, through the next phase of, the evolution of their company. It's very different to build a company from 0 to 10 than what happens between 10 and 100. So our strategy is to really have a focused strategy where we invest 5 to 10 companies a year, so we can really spend a lot of time with the founders in helping them go through this phase. And we do this by through not only our expertise, through more than 60 investments, globally, but also we have an amazing group of advisors and other parts of the ecosystem that we have built, especially in Latin America, that we think is very value-added to investors. And Latin America is a core part of our strategy. We started investing in the region 13 years ago. We done more than 20 investments. Gladly they were pretty successful. So I think there's two things that make for us, at least, Miami important to our strategy, and I think I represent, part of the success, factors of Miami, and going forward will be important. So one has to do with the connectivity with Latin America, along the lines with what Ignacio was mentioning just in the prior session. And we always have a lot going on in Latin America. We do every year this event called LTF, where we bring together more than 200 founders and C-level executives of technology companies to Miami. We've been doing this for more than 10 years, and really it's been pretty amazing what we have seen in terms of its evolution. We have companies that have a presence in Miami. Technis recently established headquarters for North America in Miami. There's a lot of founders of Latin American companies in the city. Take Key Biscayne, for example. There's two founders of two technology unicorns from Latin America. And we really see a lot of traffic of founders and C-level executives in the region. So for us, that is very important. It's very important to be in Miami to increase the connectivity with all of these founders. And I think to the extent that Miami can, continue to promote, all this, it will be amazing. The second point is with regards to the tech ecosystem itself. It not only includes Latin American companies, but also includes, companies that are focused on the U.S. market. And what we are seeing is pretty interesting from the perspective of this ecosystem, rising, and seeing a lot of companies that for us, it looks like what Mexico was a couple of years ago, or what Brazil, a few years more, ago, where we were seeing a lot of startups that were gaining traction, and that in a year from today or 2 years, who knows when exactly, but those are becoming Series B or Series C companies that reach. That's where we invest the most, like Series B and beyond, and for us, having said all the above, it's very important to start meeting these companies at very early in their life. As what we want to do is we want to connect with them. We want to make sure that we understand their business. We follow the evolution of their business model, and we also try to help as much as we can in that evolution, so that when the companies reach this phase, they already know us. Hopefully they know that we can add value to them, and we are very much up to speed with their business model. And of course, that is something that is very important in how Miami will evolve going forward, and the tech ecosystem. So basically, it's the combination of these two. It's connectivity with Latin America, but also being part of this great ecosystem that can bring a lot of potential, very interesting opportunities for us.
Great, and you've been doing it for 10 years, so it's not new. It's just now that it's going to another scale, I think, and that's a perfect segue for you, Julia, because you've also, with Silicon Valley Bank, of course, have one foot here, one foot in the region, and have been really pioneering a lot of work in new forms of financing for startups. So tell us your perspective.
Thank you. So, bom dia, buenos dias. I'm Julia Figueiredo with Silicon Valley Bank. Thank you, IDB Lab. Thank you, Irene, for having us here. Silicon Valley Bank has been working with Latin America for 10 years. We were always, the whole team is actually based in San Francisco. I just moved to Miami 2 months ago, which I don't know why it took us so long to decide to move the LATAM team here, since we were traveling so frequently to the region. I think the decision to move to Miami, it's not only Latin America, but it's a big part of Latin America. But what we've seen for the past year in Miami, of course, there's this hype about Miami, but Claudia has been here for a long time, and it's just not an overnight success. There's a big community that has been working in Miami for a long time and developing the ecosystem. But I think fueled by COVID and the opportunity from New Yorkers, San Francisco to come to Miami, I think the tech movement is booming now more than ever. So Silicon Valley Bank decided to open an office here to help the local ecosystem, but the intersection with Latin America is undeniable. We are seeing a lot of founders and fund managers from Chile and from Colombia, mainly moving to Miami in the past 2 or 3 months. Latin America, as you probably know that you follow Latin America and most of you live in Latin America, the record of VC investments was around 5 billion. This year, there's a projection to go to 19 or 20 billion. So there is a lot going on, and it's Miami's strategic location and the population of Miami being so Latin is really important. So SVB is invested in Miami, is invested in Latin America. We are hiring. We want to keep supporting the companies. We support over 1,000 companies between startups and funds, between seed to new bank and all the main funds, including Riverwood. I think it's an exciting time for Miami and for Latin America.
And that brings me to Claudia, because Claudia, as the new head of Endeavor here in Miami, Miami was actually the first affiliate of Endeavor in the US. Now Endeavor has several of them, but this was the first one. So how do you see these opportunities? Where do you see we can kind of create more value linking all these different pieces?
Yes. So thank you for the invitation to be here today with all of you. For those who don't know what Endeavor is, we are a global organization supporting entrepreneurs in all different industries, and we focus specifically on those who are scaling the fastest. So we call them high impact entrepreneurs, and we have right now more than 2,000 around the world. And Endeavor actually started in Latin America, in Argentina, and then Chile, and then spread out to most of the countries. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the incredible talent coming out of. Many unicorns in the portfolio are from Latin America, and we have a lot of, in Silicon Valley Bank and River, where we have several entrepreneurs that are in common. And I'm seeing that more and more with different venture capital funds across the United States who are investing also in Latin America. What I'm seeing right now, specifically with our portfolio, more than half of our portfolio is from our founders from Latin America who have established themselves here in the United States, specifically in Miami. And most of their operations is in LATAM, and their teams are in Latin America. They established their headquarters here, but they're constantly working with people in Latin America where they have the majority of talent. We have some companies that 300 employees in Colombia or Peru, and they have a smaller team here in Miami, but they're actually starting to bring some of that talent to Miami and growing the headquarters. So I feel that we're seeing a big influx of Latin American founders coming to Miami. And the other thing we're seeing is a lot of the companies that we support in LATAM, they're starting to enter the US market through Miami. So they're asking a lot of the support to access the market, the US market. And that's where Endeavor has been working a lot in the last months, where we are seeing that integration into the United States and connecting them with funds here when they raise capital, and also helping them just to establish their companies, connecting them with lawyers, with even specific like patent lawyers, or just helping them get the right talent here in Miami. So I'm seeing a lot of influx in the past months, and that's very exciting because I feel Miami has been built by many Latin American entrepreneurs in the past that established themselves here, and actually now I'm seeing a lot of them, the serial entrepreneurs that have been here for a long time in Miami, helping the new wave of founders that are arriving. And that's very exciting to see how the community is embracing, is very welcoming. So I feel that's a unique aspect of Miami, that it just welcomes everyone with open arms. And I feel that the collaboration is key for the success to establish Miami as an entrepreneurial ecosystem, a strong one. So I feel I'm very excited to be working with so many organizations alongside to build this strong ecosystem.
Are you seeing the same dynamics and new generations supporting new generations of founders? How are you seeing those connections? And give us some of the examples of either the sectors or the companies that you are more excited about and seeing more of the opportunities, particularly in terms of the impact that they can have to improve lives in the region.
So we're seeing EdTech. I'm very excited about a company that we have in our portfolio. I don't know if you're familiar, Aprende Institute. Martin is from Bolivia, and he has a strong presence now in Colombia and in Mexico, and he's building a strong team here. And I feel that he's impacting many lives through the work that Aprende does. So that's something that we're seeing and helping him build that company. We have other, for example, another one, they're from Brazil, Sellers Funding. They're helping smaller businesses that need working capital for their e-commerce business. So they're giving that access to that working capital through a loan or a line of credit. And what I love is that I'm starting to see a lot of collaboration between the founders in our portfolio. So now I'm seeing some collaboration between a Colombian entrepreneur and the Brazilian entrepreneur, and just helping themselves to really, something is hard for some of these founders to get access to. For example, they don't need equity. They want just working capital, a line of credit, because they're growing really fast. And in Latin America, they have a bottleneck or a problem with some of the supply chain, right? So they have to be paying in advance a lot of the material they need. So I feel that collaboration I'm seeing, and I love that. A lot of job creation too, which I think it's very important for the development of the region. and a very, very impressive talent that I'm seeing just landing in Miami, but also working with the founders out of Latin America.
So I'd like to invite the Francisco, Julia, of course, Federico, also give us some of these insights, maybe in terms of sectors, opportunities, which ones you think can and are having the biggest impact in the region.
Sure. I think there's many sectors that are. We've seen such a huge disruption, with technology of industries in the region. I think every subsector is bringing really a huge impact by itself. Some to mention, I think EdTech is a very interesting one, and I actually love Martin. He's amazing. We are seeing a lot happening in logistics. So really the supply chain in Latin America needs so much improvement, and with that improvement, there's going to be a lot of benefits to consumers. Getting stuff that they purchase, faster and better and safer, etc. We do a lot in software, so we almost half of our portfolio is software companies. We keep seeing a lot of SaaS type businesses that are super interesting and coming out of the region. That some of them are actually becoming global companies. We are invested in a company called Vitex, which is an e-commerce platform that is now it's an amazing business. It's global and it's now publicly listed in the US. And like that, we're seeing a lot of them.
Yeah, I think adding to you both, fintech, it's still a big part of the investments in Latin America. I think over 50% or 60% of the investments last year went to fintech. We bank 75% of all the companies in Latin America that have raised US dollars. So my compliance team doesn't love me too much because it's fintech every day, all day long. So I think fintech is it's still really strong. E-commerce is really strong. And one thing that I starting to see more and more, and it's a personal interest, is mental health. So I think there are a few startups that are starting to shine on that space. And after everything that we all went through together with COVID, I think it's an important theme that we should be touching on. I just wanted to go back to when you asked me with the things that we're doing at SVB, and I failed to mention that we created a venture debt fund with IDB Invest and Partners for Growth to lend money to Latin America entrepreneurs. And we did our first deal in Mexico, Tribal Credit, $20 million venture debt. So we are looking to do more in the region as well.
So for all the entrepreneurs looking for venture debt, yes, there is a new option, that was not available before, and that's making a difference. So, Francisco.
Yeah, in addition to fintech, of course, like I said, it's the third ecosystem in the region. There are two sectors where we're seeing a lot of interesting examples. One is food tech. Just a few days ago, we saw the closing of a Series B round of a food tech company called Foodology led by Andreessen Horowitz, and it's just one example of a sector where we're seeing a lot of activity and tying
This
it back.
company is from Colombia.
From Colombia, and there's a lot of activity also in the prop tech industry, innovations related to infrastructure, technology in the context of real estate and housing, and that is a sector in which many of our partners, corporate partners that are engaged in corporate venturing, are seeing a lot of opportunities in connection to South Florida and to Miami as well. That is one vertical in which the connection between Colombia and Miami could have initial results or is having already initial results. So I would mention those two. And of course, EdTech, we're going to see in the next few weeks the start of a Colombian EdTech association, similar to what is happening in the fintech industry. The EdTech community is coming together to form an industry association to really grow as an ecosystem and continue deepening its impact and tackling some of the barriers that have to do with regulation and with everything that's going on in that very fast-moving space.
Well, that's great. We have great female founders of some of the companies that probably are going to be part of that association, like Vicky Ricaurte, who's here from Arucay, but also Martin from Aprende, and leaders like that that are emerging and coming up with new models. Thank you for sharing that. And I think all of the sectors and all of the companies that you illustrated here, they are really addressing problems that are at the core of Vision 2025 of the IDB Group, and where digitization and supporting small companies is a core part of it, and are north for helping with the recovery. So I'm glad that you mentioned some of these examples of how to also go to this last mile and digitizing SMEs, making them part of these value chains, and that's part of the notion of making sure that all of these opportunities actually create an inclusive model, and not just that we don't leave people behind, but also small companies behind, and great models like a company we recently invested in directly as IDB Lab in Brazil called Dolado, that is digitizing small pop-and-mom shops. And so I see a lot of the same opportunities in these verticals. We'll go much deeper into each of these actually in the next few panels, and including, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Francisco, in corporate impact venturing. And we have a lot of our partners from the region here, like Silvia Chevi from Thales Lab, that is working on corporate impact venturing, and our partners from Guaira of Telefonica, who are part of this initiative. So any final word, a call to action, or a last message? And we can, Claudia, start with you again.
I think it's a very interesting moment Miami's living, and I feel that for all of you or any of you who are interested in relocating to Miami or launching your business in Miami, or even just connecting with the local ecosystem, we're here to support you in any way that we can. It's a great community, and I think it's thriving, and it's only going to continue growing as we see an influx of capital and funds establishing themselves here, looking to deploy more investments locally, and founders moving from different parts of the world, not only Latin America. So I think it's a great time to be here and to build this incredible ecosystem together.
So call to action, well, come meet us. We'd love to get to know your business. I think one of the interesting things about Miami, I have to say, is a sense of community, of founders of tech companies, which I used to be in New York for 17 years. I recently moved, and we didn't see that in New York. It just were like random one-to-one meetings. Here there's a lot of the people get together, meet each other, and that really, bringing together the ecosystem and exploiting each of the things that you can learn from, other, founders or other people that are working in the industry. I think that's very valuable. So you should take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I think for us, as Silicon Valley Bank's mission is to increase the probability of success of our clients. So if you want introductions, a bank account, venture debt, we are present all over the US, now here in Miami, Germany, Europe, Asia. So if you need any contacts or want to work with us, come and talk to me.
Thank you, Irene. And for us, I think for us ecosystem builders and for institutions in countries like Colombia supporting entrepreneurs, the opportunity is very clear, and I think we should work in articulation to identify startups that can take advantage of this opportunity, help them navigate this changing and interesting landscape that's going on in the Miami ecosystem, and in general promote this global vision and this vision of specialization that we've been talking about. Thank you again for this invitation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Claudia, Federico, Julia, and Francisco. Thank you to all of you, and see you in the next session.